Hello and welcome to Unfudge Your Marketing. As you may know, this is a show where I chat with business owners and leaders about their marketing mistakes, mishaps, and things that just didn't quite go as planned. But most importantly, we focus on the lessons learned for you. I'm your host. I'm Kristi Mitchell. I'm a marketing strategist, and I love working with mission-driven, client-centered service providers who have relied on referrals and word of mouth to build their business, and they know in order to have a greater impact and to grow for the future, they need to finally think more strategically about their marketing. Today, I am so excited to welcome Scarlett Stanhope to the show. Scarlett, aka the Biz Hippie, teaches coaches to conquer their finances and own their worth so they can be fully supported by the work they love. Scarlett harnessed the power of money to break free from her workaholic career path and pursue her dreams. She uses a combination of tangible money management strategies as well as a variety of coaching techniques to help her clients transform their mindset and relationship to money, allowing them to strategically achieve their goals and live their best lives. With that, I will welcome Scarlett to the show.
Hello, Kristi. Thanks so much for having me today. I'm super excited to be here.
I am super excited to have you, and I always like to share how I met my guests. So Seth Goldstein gets a shout out today because we both met in Seth's podcast mastery group. So little plug for Seth. If anyone out there listening is thinking about starting their own podcast, has their own podcast, wants some advice and guidance, and wants to learn from an expert, Seth's group is a great one to go to. So I'm so glad that the group brought Scarlett and I together to have this conversation today.
Yes, I'm super excited. I'm really looking forward to being on your show.
Yes. So when we talked about having you on, you had talked about an early on in your business, which actually feel free to share that as part of your story, is how long ago this was, how long you've been in business. But you mentioned that early on in your business, you attempted your first launch doing, quote, all of the things, as so many of us, I think, can relate to. And I'm not going to spoil it, but it didn't go as planned. So I will ask you, where do you want to kick off this conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to give a little baseline so that everyone knows a little bit about me, who I am, and where I'm starting from here. So hey, it's nice to meet you. My name's Scarlett, and I am a money and abundance coach. I help coaches, healers, entrepreneurs to transform their relationship with money from the inside out so you can support yourself financially while doing work you love. And I have been running my business now for over 5 years, and I have been specifically focusing on this niche of money and abundance for over 4 years now. So when I first started my business 5 years ago, I was all over the place, literally floundering about, trying to figure it out. I got my first life coaching certification just 1 month after getting my bachelor's degree in business management, accounting, and finance. And I decided that I was going to go all in on growing and building my life coaching business. And for that whole first year, I was just trying to figure out how to put myself out there, how to get clients. I didn't really have a specific niche. I was just helping people to deepen their relationship to themselves and develop self-trust, self-love, self-confidence, because those were all things that had really helped me on my own journey. And then I was also saying yes to like any opportunity that came my way that really lit me up. So I also became a yoga instructor and got my 200-hour yoga teacher training certification. I became a Reiki practitioner. I started traveling and attending retreats. And then a couple months in, like 6 months, maybe a little over 6 months in, I hired my first business coach. And that was a really scary, intimidating, challenging investment. And it was a lot of money. It was around $2,600. And at the time, I was terrified. I remember having a conversation with my boyfriend, sitting on the couch, crying, feeling like I was a literal crazy person who was making a big mistake that I was going to regret. And at the same time, thinking, this is the right next step. This is exactly what I need to do. So I remember working with this business coach and mapping out the whole strategy for a launch. Working with her, I mapped out a whole program. It was called Start with Center, and it was all about coming back home to yourself. I mapped out and outlined the several weeks of this group coaching program. I created a freebie, which was like a PDF that led to and funneled right into the program. I promoted the freebie, announced it, sold the freebie, tried to get people on my email list, and then implemented a whole launch plan of like marketing on Instagram and sending out emails. I put all of this effort into this launch and sold 0 clients. 0. And I remember at the time having coaching sessions with this business coach, sobbing and thinking like, why isn't it working? What am I doing wrong? I feel like I'm doing everything right. And honestly, when I got my coaching certification, I thought I would be making decent money in a very short amount of time. And the fact that I have, hired you, done the steps, done all the things that I'm supposed to do, and have landed 0 sales as a result was completely disheartening. And I was really dumbfounded. So that's where I was 5 years ago.
Yes. Yeah. And I just want to pause there for a second, because I have had other guests on the show who, similar in some ways. And that it was like, okay, I executed everything I was supposed to. I did everything that the expert, the business coach, the marketing person, whoever it was, I did everything they told me to. Why isn't it working? I thought I was going to get the results. So I'm curious, before we kind of dig into more about then what happened, I'm curious, when you look back on that experience, do you think that you hired the right person for the stage that you were at? Or do you think maybe you needed clarity on some things before you tried to sell a thing?
Yeah, I think this is a really great and important question when it comes to marketing, and especially when it comes to like investing in yourself and in your business, because this is also something I talk about a lot with my clients because I do so much work around money, is investing in yourself. And I think that at the time, after the fact that this had happened, I really regretted working with this coach because it felt like I had made a big mistake. I didn't get the results that I wanted, and it felt like it wasn't worth it. But now, flashing forward several years later, I have recognized that the investment wasn't just about like getting those results from that one experience. And in fact, I actually did gain a lot from making that investment in myself and working with this person, even though it wasn't what I expected, because what I did get was commitment to myself and my business, and saying, you know what, I am a legit business. I'm going to take this seriously. I'm willing to get support. I'm willing to learn. And this is important to me. And I'm dedicated to getting these results, and making that investment and choosing to spend my money in that way really solidified my business identity in a lot of ways. And even though that whole plan didn't work and didn't go according to plan, and I have like completely changed my niche, completely changed my focus, everything since then, I learned a lot from that experience. And honestly, I believe I needed those foundations to build upon to give me the marketing clarity and the sales clarity that I have now.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing I wanted to talk about too, is because it sounds like a lot of the things that this business coach had you do are a lot of the similar foundational things that I work with my clients on in coming up with a strategic marketing plan. So often business owners jump right to like, I just need to sell the thing, or I just need to promote the thing. And it's really not about that, because as we know, service-based businesses, it usually takes some time to build that trust to get someone ready to purchase. And so how do we build that trust? We do it by creating a strategic marketing funnel where we bring people on a journey and we give them a freebie and we show them that we're an expert in our space. And then we nurture them with these awesome email campaigns so that then they will buy at the end of the day. So it sounds like a lot of the work that you did, I know just from the work I do with my clients, is like, yeah, those are the core foundational things that you need in place, because so often business owners are on the other side and they jump to just hiring someone to do ads for them, to run paid ads for them. And it's like that. I've never had someone on the show that has told me that this worked out for them because they didn't have that organic foundation that I call it, that, your website, your social media, your email marketing, like that solid foundation wasn't in place first. And so your paid ads usually don't give you the return on investment that you want. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, you started with that organic foundation. Like it all sounds good. I'm curious, what do you think was kind of the missing piece then?
Yeah. And I totally agree with everything that you said, especially when it comes to organic marketing versus like paid marketing and paid ads. It is really vital that you're able to actually have those marketing and sales foundations first while you're not shelling out a bunch of money that might not generate you returns because you haven't proven the concept of your marketing strategy. And honestly, I am actually implementing so much of that strategy now in my business, and it is successful and it is working. And so I think there was a couple things that have made the difference. And one is that I was just early on in business. I didn't have an audience who knew what I did. And so I was marketing and promoting in a way of somebody who has an audience. In order to actually get people to sign up for your freebie, you need to have people who see your Instagram posts, and you need to have people who actually read your emails. If you don't have an audience at all, it's really hard to build up that momentum of like, yes, actually sign up for the freebie. So that was part of it, was I just needed to build my audience. I also needed to build a lot of clarity and confidence around who I am and what my offer is. And I think this is a little different than only like getting clarity around the offer, because yes, I did that. I mapped out the offer. I mapped out who it was for. I did all that work. And again, I was early on in business. So it was very different to then figure out like, oh, what am I really passionate about? What do I really care about? What's the thing I really want to offer? And then on top of that, what is the thing that I want to offer that I can be fully committed to? Because what changed was after that year, I discovered the work that I do now, the niche and the focus of being a money and abundance coach. I created the program that I offer now, which is called Empowered Abundance. And I decided after I created this that I was going to commit to selling only that offer for 1 full year. And I said, I'm not going to change my mind. I'm not going to switch to something else, because that was something else I was doing early on in business. Was I was like flip-flopping around and being like, oh, well, that thing I tried to sell didn't work. Let me do another thing. And instead I said, I'm just going to get really good at selling this one thing and committing to this. And I did for a full year. And now flash forward 4 years later, I am still selling it. And so having that commitment to the same thing and getting really confident at selling it, getting really confident in myself, building up my own belief in this offer, the value of it, the impact of it, building up that momentum, because I've had clients go through it and I'm seeing their results and I'm speaking to their results. And at the same time, I am like building that audience. I am building up the people who know what I do. And so really looking back, the process itself wasn't wrong. It was just that I was early on in the process and had to continue to implement it and strengthen my marketing skill sets, my identities, to actually allow the process to work.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point to make. And there's a couple things I want to say about that. First being, yes, absolutely. And I see this so often with newer business owners. I'm super active on LinkedIn. That's my primary platform. And I see a lot of newer business owners come to, the LinkedIn platform, and they're all excited to market themselves, and they're lacking some clarity. They're not sure who exactly they're speaking to. They have it seems like every other week I'm like, oh, you're selling something different. Like they're kind of all over the place. And I think that, in some ways when you first start your business, some of that I think has to happen. Just because you don't know yet. You don't know what your core offer is that people love and that makes a huge impact. You don't know which specific types of clients you enjoy working with best and you have the greatest impact with. And so there's always going to be some of those, things you gotta kind of figure out in the early stages. But for those business owners listening to this show who are not in the early stages and are more established, I still think that there's so many pieces to this conversation that are extremely relevant, because so many businesses build themselves on referrals and word of mouth, and it works, and they don't really have to have their marketing stuff together because they're getting referrals and word of mouth is working for them. And so they let some of these things that we're talking about, like building a strategic funnel and building your audience so that they are receptive to listening to what you have to say and they're interested in that freebie you're going to offer so they can get on your email list. A lot of times, even established business owners don't put that stuff into place soon enough. And I think that you make such a great point in that you have to build your following. And I've had other guests on the show where we talk about, will people hesitate to sell? They hesitate to promote the thing they're selling until it's completely ready. Like until it's got a nice bow, it's all packaged and wrapped up, it's all neat and tidy, like ready to go. And I always argue you should be marketing all of the time, because marketing is building your following. It's building that community of people who care what you have to say and value the expertise and the experiences and the stories that you bring to the work that you do. So what you're saying is super aligned with a lot of the things I talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally resonate and agree. If anything, I would say like my big marketing mistake was actually not realizing that it was working. It just was inevitably going to take more time. And I think I just had the expectation that it should have magically worked right away. And because it didn't, what am I doing wrong? Why isn't it working? It must be something wrong with the process or something wrong with me or something wrong with the offer, when really none of those things were true. It's just the practice of getting good at it, like repeating the skill set over and over again, getting really good at it and becoming someone who is really confident and solid at selling that offer. And so speaking to the people who do have businesses rooted in referrals and you are getting clients through that and you are successful, now is actually the perfect best time to start building up your marketing in this way, because you have revenue coming in, you have proof of concept coming in, you have the belief and the confidence and the solidity in what you're offering. It's easier for you to actually know how to talk about it and know who you're speaking to, because you're already working with your clients. You're already getting good about talking about it with them and selling it to them. And now it's just taking all of that and converting it into a longer lasting presence in other marketing avenues. So it's actually like you're in the perfect space and opportunity because you're not starting from scratch, even though it might feel like that.
Yes. Yeah. And so often business owners, I think, keep kicking the can down the road on getting that strategic marketing plan in place because they've gotten comfortable with the referrals and the word of mouth. So usually I find there needs to be like some real pain in their side to like make them finally do it. Whether it's, a referral partner that's no longer there, or, they're trying to scale and hire a salesperson. They realize they have no inbound leads for that person to follow up with. But yeah, I appreciate the point that you make, especially around the patience of waiting for the results, not expecting results as quickly as you start that new marketing campaign or tactic. I think that patience and the consistency, when you were talking, that phrase, putting in the reps, always comes to mind with marketing, because it really does take that. It takes putting in the reps. It takes being super consistent over a long period of time in order to see those results. And I think a lot of times we get really impatient.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that it's not necessarily that the process isn't working if you're not seeing the results. It's that there's just small tweaks and adjustments that need to be improved in order to make the process really effective. And something for me that has been a game changer in my business and in my marketing has been my identity and my self-concept, and really focusing on my own self-worth and my belief in myself as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a coach. Because the more that I believe in the work that I do and what I offer, and the more that I believe it will get people results, that it is valuable, that there are tons of people who want this, who are actively looking for it right now, and the more that I show up from those beliefs, from that mindset, that changes the way I implement, the way that I show up. And even though I can be taking the same action and doing the same things, it's going to completely change how it resonates with people and how it attracts people to me. And so that's a part of the time factor. Is it takes a while to actually build up that identity, but the fastest way to build up that identity is by practicing and getting really great at the skill set and the process of it, so that the identity can then rise up to match it. And that's what will build up that momentum over time. So like the sooner you start, the better off you are, because I have found for me, yes, I had that one launch that didn't go according to plan. And then I had like 10 other launches that didn't go according to plan and didn't get me the results that I wanted and the expectations that I had. But I learned from every single launch, and I improved from every single launch, and I strengthened my mindset, my identity, my belief, my skill sets every single time. And that is what has led to the success. But if you're constantly changing your strategy or giving up or not following through, then you don't get the benefits and the values of those learnings and those constant improvements.
Yes. Oh my God. I already know that's a soundbite I'm pulling out from this conversation. That was so good. That's so good. And it's interesting because as you were talking about building your confidence and knowing how you're talking about your offers and the impact that you have with your clients, it actually brought up, I have a quote on my window that I face that I wrote, and it's, do what you love in the service of people who love what you do. And a very dear friend who has since passed told me about this book, and this is the subtitle of the book, and it's Do What You Love in the Service of People Who Love What You Do. I'm pretty sure it was the subtitle. And it stuck with me, and it came to mind as you were speaking, because I think so often we as business owners can find ourselves just going through the motions of getting our marketing out there, right? Like, all right, well, we got to get our social posts together. We got to get our email campaign, our blog, our this, our that, get all the things together. And we go through the motions and we lose that spark and we lose that confidence that you're talking about, that the work that we do really matters, because the clients who love us get a ton of value out of their work with us. And I would invite anybody who's listening to this, who, if you've been guilty of this, going through the motions of your marketing, just put content together to put content together, really take a step back and think about how confident are you in the results that you help your clients achieve, and what is the impact that some of your best clients have had as a result of working with you. Because if you can bring those things to the forefront in your marketing, it's going to make it so much more effective.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And honestly, I've been guilty of this too. Like, a huge focus for myself this past year in particular has been focusing on quality over quantity in my marketing. And I think sometimes we can get caught up in the, okay, well, I got to post 5 times a week, and I got to send an email out every day, and I got to do a podcast, and just like the sheer volume that we think is required in order to be successful. And yes, like, volume can be valuable, but only if the quality of that volume is there too. And in fact, It's going to go a lot further if what you are putting out is of high quality, even if there is less of it. And especially when we're talking about quality, exactly what you just said, it's rooted in service and value and connection, and really speaking directly to your best clients and feeling that deep confidence in what it is you offer and the work that you do. And this is something I talk about with my clients all the time, because as a money coach, what we're also dealing with is your self-worth, your belief in yourself, your work, your value, your service. And if you don't have that, that can actually be a huge money blocker and a huge sales blocker, and it can show up in your marketing in so many ways. And so really exploring your self-worth, your identity, your beliefs, and really like your money mindset, that actually plays a huge role in your marketing success.
Yeah. It's so interesting to think about how closely our work is tied together in some ways. So this has been a really interesting conversation. Scarlett, as we get ready, because this conversation has flown by, as we get ready to wrap up, I'm curious if there's a last lesson learned or piece of advice that you want to share with listeners.
Yeah, I would say my biggest piece of advice, and it took me a long time to learn this, I wish I learned it sooner, is that it is working. It is working, even if it feels like it's not. Like, if you're taking the steps and putting in the actions and you're not getting the results that you expected, it's okay. The only way that you're actually failing is by giving up, quitting, or just constantly shifting gears and resetting your progress. But if you are consistent and committed and you keep going and you learn from every attempt, then you are building momentum, and then your success does become inevitable. So instead of spending like energy doubting yourself and feeling like a failure and wondering why it's not working and trying to figure out what to do differently, instead just learn from your experiences, make tweaks and adjustments, and keep going, knowing that when you do, your success will be inevitable.
Yes. And I love that. You brought up this point earlier in the conversation too, the point about tweaks and adjustments, not complete overhauls. Mm-hmm. And I think that's an important thing for business owners to remember is if you have a strategic marketing plan in place, you might not get results overnight. You have to be patient, like we mentioned. You have to execute consistently, like we mentioned. You also have to make those tweaks and adjustments over time. You don't have to completely overhaul the entire thing, but constantly looking for those areas where you can make little tweaks and adjustments to get better results, I think is so key. So I love that you ended the conversation on that note.
Yeah, and I think it's important too, because if you do a complete overhaul every time, then it's hard to know what was actually working and what wasn't. Instead, it's like actually treating your marketing like a scientific experiment and just changing one factor at a time so you can see the impact of that.
Yes, that's so true. That's so true. And it's how exhausting is that to like completely overhaul everything all the time? That's totally not a good use of energy or budget. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Scarlett, for coming on the show. Like I said, as we get ready to wrap up, I want to make sure I give you the chance to let people know how they can learn more about you and the work that you do. How can they connect with you?
Absolutely. Yes. If you want to learn more about what I do, there's a few ways that you can connect with me. One of the best ways is I also have my own podcast. It's called the Empowered and Abundant Podcast, and you can find me on all podcasting platforms when you search Empowered and Abundant. You can also find the link to my podcast on my website, thebizhippie.com/podcast. So that's where you can connect with me most. Or if you are interested in learning more about your money mindset type, I have a fun free quiz for you that you can check out where you can discover your money mindset type and the impact that your money mindset type has been having on you and your business and how to work with your money mindset type so you can attract in more money with ease. You can take that free quiz also on my website, thebizhippie.com/quiz.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Scarlett, for coming on the show, for sharing your authentic, real story about your experience with marketing, and for sharing so many great pieces of advice and words of wisdom for the listeners.
Thank you so much for having me today, Kristi.
Thanks.